Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, our dear viewers. My name is Matanda Abubaker, your host for the Youth Roundtable on Civic Space TV. Like we always do, every week we bring even a more exciting show. Today we have gone for the most dynamic, the most innovative, the most energetic sector in our midst, and this is the creatives and sports sector. We have seen that COVID-19 and the attendant measures to curb it, like lockdowns and others, have affected every significant bit of life. And we have tried to discuss on how to deal with these effects. We have seen this in education, we have seen it in health, we have seen it in terms of the civic spaces. Today, we flash a light on the creatives and sports sector. And with us on this show is a very dynamic sector of people who are actually in this space for us to hear from them. Have they been affected? Or since they are creative, they have found creative ways around it. If they have been affected, are there ways? Is anyone reaching out? Are they working to solve this? If so, what are some of the ways we can mitigate the effects of COVID-19? On the show this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by Raa Muyinda. Is not just an artist, but also a lawyer. So we hope to hear some bits of policy from you, Raa. Raa, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated to be here.
Yes, and still within the music industry, we have Ande Music. I know many of you, this name must be very familiar, even if maybe you didn't know the face. Today you will see the face. But Ande Music is not one you can miss in the industry. Ande is a sound engineer, a music producer, and an artist. Ande, we are so glad to have you today.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure being here and being able to be given an opportunity to discuss.
Wonderful. And to balance the energy, of course, we have a lady on the show, a poet, a creative designer, and an actress, Nunu Umuringa Butare. I hope I've pronounced that name well. I've been practicing before the show started. Nunu, it's a pleasure to have you.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm very glad to be here amongst you amazing human beings. And yeah, let's discuss this and let's see the way forward.
Yes, and lastly, for those who have so far joined but not in any way list, is a lawyer who escaped law and found his place in poetry, the one and only Kagayi Ngobi. Kagayi, we are happy to have you on board.
I am also happy to be here. Thank you for the invite, and good morning to all the viewers. Good morning to all the panelists, and I can't wait for us to get started.
Wonderful. So all of you need to know that what we are going to do this afternoon is for you to speak for the entire creatives industry. It is so dynamic, it's so wide, but we know, we know all of you. You are gifted in several ways, so we know that we are going to have a good show. So for the start, each one of us is going to have about 3 minutes to just share on how COVID-19, how the lockdowns, how this entire hullabaloo that has come with this pandemic confusion, how it has affected you as a creative. And I'm going to start with you and the music.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Andy Music, of course, sound engineer, music producer, director, artist, artist as well. So, to me, I feel like okay, it's bad that we are in this pandemic. Sad we've lost people, but also, I can say I don't want to bring it this way, but I blame it maybe on our leaders, because they stopped everything, and of course leaves were promised and all that and all that, and yeah, I feel like I've been tied, like they've tied my hands and my legs. I can't do anything, like, and they've not even showed any kind of concern or tried to reach, because they've reached other people. But me, I feel like I've been left out. Basically, I'm just surviving on, God. Yeah, basically.
Okay, thank you very much, Andy. Well, we actually thought since most of your music, most of your work is indoors in a studio, that you're not affected. But yeah, the story seems to be different. Is that the same with you, Barbara? I see you shaking your head.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. Once again, my name is Raa Muyinda, aka Babara. I'm an artist, I'm a lawyer and an activist. I'm also the founder of CAST, Creative Arts for Social Transformation, and I'm the sitting Secretary General of Solution Ugandan Music Enterprise. So I'm very happy to be here, and I hope this discussion takes us forward. Well, about the lockdown and COVID, honestly, I was one of the last people to leave the bar. This one I will tell you. I remember the president spoke on 18th March and he was like, we are locking down, people get home, go where you want. And the following day I had the show. It was really very bad. We had our own nights we were running. So it was like a joke. Then we were like, okay, 2 weeks, let's go home. So we went, relaxed. After 2 weeks, 21 days, from then, the rest is history. We've really been suffering. We were hit so bad. Some of us are not just artists. We move with a lot of people, like Andy can testify. You have dancers, you have young kids you're trying to promote, you have what? So we got really messed up, and up to now, we are perturbed. We don't know why we have the biggest industry that has been hit, but there is no relief. There is no concern that has actually really come direct to show us that, yo, let's do this. And this is how we are going to help the artists. But with life, we have a lot of hope. We know we shall make it through and we shall get back on stage very soon.
Okay, quite a hopeful way to close there. If I can now move to Kagayi. Kagayi, you're a poet. Primarily, poetry is written, but you're one of those who have argued that people who can only write are not poets. So has this pandemic reached poetry?
Yes, of course. This pandemic has reached all corners of our social fabric. And we have had to rethink our modes of engagement in all forms, even as human beings, the way we interact, the way we greet, the way we communicate, especially. So for the arts industry, especially, and it being a leisure industry, the pandemic, now that it has forced people to remain indoors, people to prioritize, living, rather than spending on leisure activities and things like that. It has affected us. But for me, I want to say that it has affected us positively and negatively. Negatively because the arts industry is a very volatile industry. It is very unstable. Most artists live on the Lord's prayer, on give us this day our daily bread. And so what the pandemic exposed is how the short-termism that most artists have is not sustainable in the long run. So for the artists who are just depending on gigs and they were not saving, for artists who were making money but were not, initially were not investing in infrastructures, in more sustainable livelihoods. Now this was the chance for them to critically, question themselves. And then also for us as writers, as poets, now the questions started to arise. If you don't have a show, how else can you sell your poetry? In Uganda, one of the challenges we have had is we've always been making excuses for not utilizing the internet, because we say internet is expensive, Ugandans don't have phones, etc. And now the pandemic comes here, and whether you like it or not, now you have to build an internet audience beyond Uganda. See, so now what the pandemic has shown us is the future of entertainment business is the internet. Now it is high time as artists we think of mechanisms where we can monetize our internet presences. It is high time we started building on our online brands. It is high time we started creating online products. And the advantage with these things is that you don't look, it helps you have an audience that is beyond Uganda. Now, for us in Kitara Nation, last year we launched, a product of books, and this was in the heart of the pandemic. But because we were using the internet as our focal point of selling these books, getting new customers that were beyond Uganda. And I can assure you, Matanda, if it was not for the pandemic, we would still have been selling them to schools in Uganda, you see, limiting our own approach and diversity, in the market. And then also now, the fact that we have to look for consumers who are beyond, Uganda. For me, I see the pandemic as a blessing in disguise, I know it is a sickness, but life demands to be lived. Life demands that it necessitates innovation, it necessitates survival. So for the artists who are thinking about the future, for the artists who are thinking about the new products to create, we have to modify new modes of communication and then make them accessible. Our people now, for example, just to close by this, you realize that home internet is not a big thing in Uganda, you see. But now, if we want people to start consuming our products, we have to give it to them when they are at home. So now, for any artist who is going to want to survive, you have to project how the future is going to be, and the now we are in is the future. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Typical of creatives, you have actually gone beyond what I expected and preempted some of my questions that were coming. But let's now run to Nunu. The men seem to have been affected. Is it the same on your end? How have you been affected by this pandemic?
I share the exact same sentiments with all the guys, but most especially what Peter was saying. Personally, as Kwivuga, 2020 March was supposed to be the 1-year anniversary when I relaunched Kwivuga. And that's when, the lockdown happened. It was very depressing. I was very frustrated. That's how I, make my money every end of the month. I have a Kwivuga and get some money. So that totally died. But most important, I think what frustrated me was the fact that I had built this relationship with different artists. So they also were, in a way, relying on Kwivuga. I wouldn't say for their livelihood, but, apart from the fact that they had a space where they can express themselves, I would make sure at least there's some type of facilitation for whichever poet, artist performed. So also now that for the artists that come to Kwivuga, that little that they got, they couldn't get it. So as a person who cares so much about people, my fellow artists, I was stressed out. Like the whole lockdown, I'd be like, I need to send some money to somebody. But I also don't have it. So it really, really, really stressed me out. And then again, like Peter was saying, I now started trying to look for the positive of it. I said, why not we launch Kwivuga online, But again, I think, Peter, while we can look out for all these things, all these, the new ways to exist, there's always the elephant in the room, which is money. You understand? Like, it doesn't matter, like, okay, I want to do something online for Kwivuga. I need cameras. I need to facilitate the poets and the artists. I need manyaset. I need what? So all that, while even paying for the internet, yeah. If you want a good internet company, 200,000 per month? You know what I mean? So all that at the end of the day is money. So I think what's very frustrating is while these opportunities are there, and for us to look at things differently, the main thing remains money. So as artists, what I even get frustrated. I'm like, what are we doing wrong? Because remember, we have been on this struggle solo. So we've been out there hustling, doing our thing, pulling strings, using our social capital, using whatever, and now dead. Yeah. So now, how do we pull this income? What do we need to do? And I feel that's like another question. Like, what do we need to do to make sure that we have a constant flow of cash to facilitate these different projects that we want to do as artists? Yeah. Peter, I know you spend money to get those books printed. Yeah. How do you do that? So I feel like part of the advice we need to give each other is how do we have a constant flow of money? Yeah. Do we have a chibina? Well, we say now, guys, this one is going to start this project. Well, I'm always stressed, like why people talk about to say, pledge money for weddings. Let's do this for ourselves as well. Let's have a chibina. We sit and say, not guys, I'm coming up with this project. I need ABCD. We put it out there. So we need unity. We need unity. I know we are wide, when you say an artist, that comes from painter to, I don't know, but if we have something together, because I feel if we had that before, we all wouldn't be suffering. We would have found a way of building each other, helping each other. Yeah. So lockdown just made me realize that there's more to us. There's more I can give. But the main frustration is money. And how do we go to banks? What do we do? Just me, that's my thing. That's what just keeps running through my head. Yeah.
As a creative. Okay, thank you very much, Nunu. And so this will send me back to Andy. You have given us a picture on some of the struggles, and you have shown that the biggest is the issue of income. But Andy, being in the creative industry and knowing that storms sometimes are meant to help us come up with creative solutions, there are people who are now talking about working online. And as you can see, we're even having this space online. How has the digital alternative worked so far? Is it the future? Are we longing to go back to analog, or are we coping with what the so?
The thing I can say that either way, we were still going to the digital world. Whether the pandemic was there or it was for some of us, we've been on the digital world. But remember, the digital world also, it's investment. It's like another market. You're trying to create this market. So you need to brand, you need to change a lot of things. And you find that as artists, I should say, we've been like one man's army. Like you have your ideas, you're trying to, and what you're trying to do involves a lot of people. And in the industry, some people, they want their money immediately. But now you want to make a project that you want to sell, hoping to make some money. So you find that most of the time, okay, so that you don't make the money, you make the money, but the money is working. You're trying to also invest back in your brand to maintain, like a lot. And you find that we don't have a fair system of, let me say, some relief. Maybe you can go to a bank and get a loan. Like, like it's known, like in the country, they know artists, this is like other countries, like maybe even the mentality of the whole market. Most of us, like, they are getting introduced to this kind of system. Even if, let's say, there are platforms like Spotify, YouTube, you find that even the people we want them to see us, like, especially in Uganda, they are just new, they're introduced to this YouTube, they're trying to learn it, they don't know whether to give you views, they have also to open up an account, like, there is a lot. So it's a gradual thing that will grow, but for now, like, we were not ready, and it hit us so hard. Like, there's not being ready, but there's the other option. But even the other option, there's nothing. Like, so basically, I still stand with like I feel like we were abandoned, and the kind of work we need to invest, push until, yeah, that's it basically.
For new normal. Yes, to you, Barbara. Recently, there's a photograph of a famous rapper Navio that did rounds when he was in a room where there were trays of eggs, a lot of trays of eggs, and he was saying, for him, he has decided to go agriculture and asking his fans, to support the hustle. And I saw many people saying, you see, this is what we have been telling people. Some of them just live hand to mouth. They are not creative. They're just running around begging. Yeah. So maybe people should look at alternative sources of income. Do you think this is something that is sustainable? Of course, other people came and say, no, it's because Navi is from a privileged background and all that. So are these just excuses, or are there really viable alternatives? Because Nunu emphasized so much that the biggest struggle may be with cash flow. So are there viable alternatives for an artist? If I've lived my whole life just having to create, and then now the space is frozen and I have to survive, are there viable alternatives? Should we all go trailing?
Well, thank you. However, where the mistake comes, first of all, is the mindset, like just the way you made the statement, just creating. Music is a very sector, and it actually contributes a lot. I think over 40% of Uganda without accountability. It has been contributing that much to the national GDP. So music is wide. It's not just singing, creating songs, and what there is too much we haven't tapped into in the sector that can actually sustain us and give us a livelihood. However, about Navio's picture, yes, indeed, it went viral, and he took it knowing it will go viral because Navio and farming, it wouldn't connect. However, artists have been doing these things. Me, I know artists who are border riders, who have chapati stores, who are into agriculture. Chameleon has been rearing goats for over, I think, 15 years, and no one ever talks about it. So it's just that the pandemic came and exposed the nature of the industry that, some of these things will make news. However, I know artists have been creative and doing other things. The question of are there other viable options or we can run to and do, me, I would still emphasize we cannot just ignore the sector itself. There is still a lot to do. We have to just streamline it and empower the sector. Because if we had the copyright, I'm sure very, very less of us would be complaining. About the technology and making all these rounds, and I think Jay-Z has been on internet for ever since, but he has never stopped making tours. That's Nunu's point. It still comes back to the money itself. Even these guys who sell online still have to make the physical money. So how does it count? How do I count my sales? I'm investing, but how does it come back? So we are still too behind to say, let us run into farming. I heard the president saying, this informal sector, these musicians and DJs, let them go to industries. But how do you say such a thing in 2021 in a civilized country like Uganda? So I think the big heads, the decision makers, have made big mistakes. However, they've woken up. As we continue in our discussions, I'll be giving you some information on the current things that are happening in the industry. And yeah, the rest we can do, but we have to put our biggest emphasis in the sector. There's a lot to do in the sector that can bring back our money.
Okay, thank you very much. So Kagayi, in his first submission, Barbara, who just spoke, also hinted on government, like he punched holes in government's response. He said this is a very big sector that has so many people. It looks like it's the most affected, but all the interventions government has come up with don't seem to target it. And in your submission, you hinted on matters policy. So let's go there. Is there something government could have done better? Has it even done anything? Or from where you stand, what can
Well,
government do, or what could it have done better?
you have to remember that our president has publicly expressed his disdain for the arts. On countless occasions, he has said that arts are useless in this country. And that can, and him being the principal head of the state, that can show you the attitude
You're
that,
breaking, sir. You're breaking.
hello, can you hear me now? I hope I am
Yes,
clear.
sounds better.
Thank you. So what I'm saying is that shows you the attitude that the state has towards the arts. There is a reason why we don't have a ministry for culture, and arts is lampooned under, gender, labor and health, or even when even when the policymakers are talking about creating a docket for it, they want it to be under Ministry of Tourism. And so, the general outlook of arts, and it is not just by the government, by the way, because we are the government. We, the people ourselves, are the government. Even look at the general attitude that people have towards art in itself. It is a thing that is considered a leisure, so we always have to fight to show that it is a profession, so there is that. So even during when the pandemic hit, the state was caught unawares on so many fronts, you see. And when in the pyramid of priorities, I can see how art was at the bottom of the food chain. This was the time for doctors to shine, because this is a national medical crisis, you see. And that way art has been frowned upon. But then you have to understand that the reason why the message of COVID has to go to the people is through art. You see, even though the president decides to communicate, it is through art. So the reliance on music, on artistic expression, to impact change, and forward and put forward the message, we see that value. But now it must also be said that, let us not forget that, in the previous campaigns, Bobby Wine, as an artist, was able to highlight the impact that an individual can have on society through their art. The political capital that has been able to garner. Reasons why I see one of the post-election actions that the state is taking is to consolidate the artists, because now you can see the moves that have been taken by the musicians in order for them to organize themselves into some sorts of consortiums. I know for a fact that even the poets themselves are beginning to organize, because the state has seen the power that is in the art, and the value that is in creating an economy. Because you can imagine how one of the challenges that we have is fighting unemployment, for example. And the arts industry is one of the biggest actors in the informal sector. You can imagine how many people just have to fend off one music producer like this, or how many people Nunu, how many people, because of what Nunu does, how many other people are going to survive just on that structure. And these are people that have not been sucked in by the government structures and whatnot. So art for me has always been relevant. What the state is grappling with right now is to understand what art is, because even ourselves as artists, questions on things like copyright, questions on registrations, on legitimatization, on paying tax, and all these questions of professionalism. These are some of the things that I think, for me, the pandemic has made opportunity for. For any artist who wants to move forward right now, they have to think of themselves as a business. They have to think of themselves as as an entity that has to be formalized, that is going to be giving other people sources of livelihood. So I want to blame the government, definitely, for for how it has treated the art and its attitude towards it. But then I also see how we as artists, were also caught ill-prepared with our own, with our own affairs. And COVID is now forcing us to put our houses in order. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kagayi. And now to you, Nunu. You said the biggest struggle is financial. If government said, okay, you advise us, how can artists be helped? What sort of interventions would you recommend?
Well, first of all, I'm proud of the poetry fraternity. We started our own association, Peter. You know that. So I would encourage different categories, to have their, associations. Like I said earlier, Bivina. But then, because now there it's easier for the government to approach and say, like, now we have power. We have the Poetry Association of Uganda, right? So if they came to us, they come to the head, we're already organized. So we come to them with our proposals, we come to them with our ideas and everything, but they know where to come to. So as artists, we need to come together, in our different categories, first of all, and then also one. You guys, we have the AU, Africa Union. That's like all the African countries together. Can't we as Ugandan artists come together, So even when Peter said, sometimes I want to blame the government, but even us ourselves, what are we doing? And we also need to realize that some of us are the voice for the voiceless, right? And we need to stand up and come and have these discussions. They are scary, because you're thinking, who are you? Am I going to come and start saying this? But if we are not united, if we are not together, because now there we can even go to that. We don't even wait for them to come to us. We go there, we say, listen, this is us. This is what we can do. We are ready. We have everything put together. Just fund us, but we're all scattered, So I feel that we need to come together. First, as different categories, like I said, for us, the Poetry Association of Uganda is set, and you can figure out the producers, Babari, like we all figure out something, And the thing about daring to be different, don't think you're going to have everybody joining in, But if you have a vision and you have people with whom you share the vision with, that's the first stepping stone. So you can think maybe, hey, but we're just 5 guys. It's Kawa. You start with the 5 guys, Then the next maybe month, another 2 guys will.
No, we don't seem to get you. I don't know whether it's just me, or we sort of lost you.
We all lost her. I think it's a phone interruption.
Okay, so maybe I can move to Andy as she sorts her network. Andy, we have heard that there have been interventions. We have started hearing about associations, about groups, and Nunu seems to be recommending for such a thing. Some groups, you hear that they have met General Sale, Kadongo Kamu, then you hear events managers. I don't know whether producers have received their share. Maybe you can start there.
I totally agree with that, because we've been doing that. We have a PAO, the Producers Association. Our president is Renix, and we've had meetings. We've tried to unite producers, but of course, the way we've tried to also raise voices. We've gone for meetings, and we are just there waiting. But this is also, I can't say, we can't blame the artists. Like, we can't blame producers, artists for everything. Remember, this industry of ours, we forget that as the industry as a whole, it is growing. It is not where we want it to be. Those people we see, the Nigerians, they've struggled with for their industries. The PDDs, the ones we see, they changed the whole trend. They made moves that we are yet to make. You know, they changed the mentality of, because also then they went through struggles of identifying themselves artists, and because there was also the first problems of the corporate world in art as nothing, but they fought and changed. And given that these are black men living in America, it was had to also a time where the systems have been set for a long time. You know, there is a way, like there's an order, you know, order that, you know, if you're an artist, either through a label, or if you're an independent artist, you need to have management, this and this and this. You need to look through the legal side. You need to look through finance. You need to be organized. So they know already there's a system. For us, we are facing a problem. The industry is disorganized. There's no structure. There's nothing. Every artist, including us, producers, everyone, we just went into this industry blind, like blind. We did not know what to do. Like we learned on job. You know, many artists up to now don't know vocals. Like, which voice am I singing? What is this? Like, they don't. They buy music. They're written for. So the artists alone, they are not informed. They don't know what it means by branding. They just hear, oh, we have brand. Some people think it's only image. They think, okay, I have to maybe make collaborates, or I have to. But branding, they forget it's a whole package. And then you need to have a serious management. Then you need to know your worth, how much, like you have to look at it as a business. Now, this is what we've come to learn after the mistakes and everything. So I think here we should talk about way forward. Like, this is what we need to preach. We need to preach unity, the artists. We need to like preach it. It has to be like a campaign, you know. We need to educate the artists themselves to start valuing their brands, looking at themselves as a big business. Because an artist in the 21st century, you are a full company, you're a business, and you have to be handled in that way. You have to be structured and everything, so you can come together with other brands, you make associations, then you talk about then that's when we shall see the glory of artists making the real money, doing everything the way they're supposed to do. But the good thing is we've learned, we've seen, and I know many artists are organizing themselves. They're using this time to organize themselves. Producers are using this time to organize themselves. Because now for me, like I've seen almost everything in the industry. There was a time I was so excited. That time passed. I've seen, and I want something big for the industry. Like, I don't want to be remembered as this guy who used to make nice beats and he sang and that's it. I want us to make like big moves, use the music, because I believe, you see, music is something you cannot live without. Let me say art in general. Art is like self-expression. It's everything. It's a human being. Like, if you look at art in general, it makes everything we are, and it's the face of our country. We see our other countries and we admire. It's because of the art. When I was growing up, I loved America so much. It's because of the movies. We express, you sell everything. So I think this is what we need to inform the government through our associations. We need to structure ourselves. We need to have an order. We need to speak kind of the same voice, given the sector we are in, like given what we do. I think we need to just discuss way forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Let me now cross to the lawyer in our midst, Barbara. If you attend any elementary financial literacy class, one of the things you're likely to hear is passive and active income. And passive income is that form of income where even when you're sleeping or not working, you keep earning. Now, I know that content now in the world is the hottest selling cake, you know. Yeah, because it's one of the easiest ways someone can earn passive income. So one would expect that people in the creative industry actually would not have any problem with something like a lockdown, because you already have your content, you're making money even when you're sleeping, your work is, you know, is doing rounds. How come we seem to be as bad off as other people who are dealing in brick and mortar?
Or even worse.
Or even worse,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. So that brings us back to the same issue of copyright and bad regulation, poor regulation, or because this lockdown and the whole COVID thing exposed the entire nature of the industry. We found out that artists are not really celebrities, or they are not really wealthy. They don't have that much power as they were claiming or as they are perceived as. And then it also exposed on the other side the importance of the content created by Ugandan artists. Because if if it was like COVID had come to attack technology like computers and TV stations and what, trust me, it would be a very, very terrible state now. I don't know where the world would be. We reached a time in lockdown where everyone had to either wait for NBS catch up, either wait for what? It was strictly movie, music, movie, music, music, movie, comedy, art. Art is the only thing that has kept the industry alive. So about the passive cash and thing, I would say it is because of a lack of copyright. Very few artists, or a handful. I would mention maybe Kenzo, maybe who, and has been online for like I don't know how long. But you'll find that his biggest fan base is either in China, either in Australia, either where. And you come to Uganda, it is just like this. People are not. Um, the poet was talking about how we woke up to use internet, how now we have to use internet, but we are not going to force it. We are not going to jump over stages. We know we still have very slow internet in the country. When the lockdown came, we had the worst scenario. Facebook was taken down. We were still paying OTT. You know, all these things affected Uganda. And Uganda's industry is unique in a way. It is not like, if you look at us from way back from the Afrigo bands in the 1960s and what, our music industry has been very unique. You compare it to Congo, Congo has been having copyright ever since. An artist just doesn't release music. Koffi Olomide used to release an album. Pepe Kale album. We all bought albums. Kenya, it has had that. It had challenges somehow, but it went back to the same system. Now here in Uganda, our survival has been shows, concerts. In that even corporate companies find it very difficult to give us the endorsement deals, because they are like, now who shall we pick, who shall we leave out? They will end up going back to either Bebe Cool or Chameleon, one of the big branded artists, yet they are not having the same effect as these new energies. The opportunities will remain in a few circle, in a small circle. So copyright is the basis of our suffering as creatives of Uganda, and of not having value or having money in the pocket. That is our biggest challenge, and that is what the government has woken up to try and resolve. Oh, Nunu, please, can you first mute?
I'm here, guys. Sorry, I'd gone off.
Yes, welcome back, Nunu. I'll be coming to you in a bit of a minute. Maybe keep setting yourself up. But I wanted to go to Kagayi. And Kagayi, I want us to discuss matters mass consciousness. You see, outside some of these conversations, I'm a human rights lawyer, but I can tell you that when I'm looking at vulnerable groups, if someone asks me to outline vulnerable groups, thieves could not be on my foremost list, because you have a voice, you have platforms, you literally run the world. So if how come you can't put through your concerns? You know, like we are crying like from what I've heard so far. For example, I feel like as a human rights lawyer, rather than look out for border men or vendors on the street, it seems that it also need help. So what does this say about our levels of consciousness the ability to use platforms to push for our needs. Because the Ghanaians say it's the body part that itches that is scratched. How come you people are not itching?
Mr. Matanda, I think you're not being fair in your assessment. I think I think I think I have seen so many artists reach out for help. I have seen so many artists come out to offer help as well on so many levels. I've also had a number. I've seen, I have read, I have watched a number of performances that are created by artists that are talking about the current situation that we are going through. Personally, and I bear testimony to this. COVID has changed a number of things, and certainly one of them is how we have to rethink our livelihood. How we live, how we are going to make a source of income. I can, for example, tell you that there are so many poets these days who have WhatsApp poetry nights. WhatsApp and Zoom poetry nights. Now, these are not money-making ventures at the moment, but by virtue of the fact that people have realized that, wait, we can actually have a WhatsApp poetry event, and you have over 200 people attending, 900 people attending, 550, whatever. But for me, the whole idea that we have to remodify how we have to keep engaging our customers and how we have to keep creating our products is important. Then secondly, for me, this is what I believe. Yeah, as an artist, as Kagayi, and I speak as Kagayi, you know that as I'm one of those people who have been telling artists, especially poets, that you have to write, but you also have to perform, And one of the reasons why I used to make that argument was because one of the experiences that, being a poet has taught me is that for you to be able to survive in this industry, you have to be multi-talented. Either you are multi-talented or the industry eats you up. You see, if Nunu is going to invite me to perform today, and the following day, Nyena Kakoma is going to call me to say, I want to publish your poems. And on another day, and the music is going to say, come and we make your poem into a song. You see, and Mr. Matanda says, Kagayi, come and perform your 2065 at our social conscious event. So that way, as an artist, the flexibility of my talents is going to ensure that, when push comes to shove, in times like these, when people want your art, you have more customers coming to you. You've created yourself you've created a variety. So for me, I want to I'm on the lookout for who is the new artist today. How now, for example, I have a WhatsApp poetry class that I run for one of the schools, that I monitor today, where I run a poetry program. And this is one of the initiatives that we had to come up with the school. Now, I am not a professional teacher, but as a person who wants to keep engaging with my clients, I had to come up with a way. And we see that we execute it. Now, for me as an artist, I am not going to sit back and say, oh, COVID has been bad. It has been bad. I acknowledge that. It has affected my source of livelihood. My expenditures are up. My savings are really low. But that does not mean that I need to stop thinking of how the future is going to look like. So for me, I see, and I do understand the pains that many artists are going. Man, I know friends who have almost committed suicide because of the depression that they're going through because of the situation. But like I keep insisting to everyone, it is important you start thinking that this is the new normal. Like, this is the new normal, and it is important that you work your way with what you have right now, and think of how, with the means you have, with the gadgets you have, how do you get to create new products? How do you get to create new ways of monetizing your art? How do you get to create new art? What is the relevant voice today? What are the relevant messages? What do I have to write about today that me, I see, and I want to see myself as an artist evolving with COVID-19, not one who is going to be, killed by it.
Can I make a submission before we continue?
Yes, please go on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ngobi. Thank you. Those suggestions are really practical, but I see a little bit of unrealisticness here. Because yes, we have to rethink, we have to accept COVID is here, but you're speaking to an industry that is ignorant, an industry that is misinformed, that actually doesn't know their rights, that they have the right to information, they have the rights to express themselves, they can, I think where we are right now with the creation of the associations and the government involvement that has come on, this is where we have to start, because we have made these suggestions on paper and proposed to them. We have to first, we don't want to reopen, this is how I should state it, we don't want to reopen the industry again and do the same things we used to do. So right now we want to start afresh. If it is afresh, let us start afresh on a well-empowered industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good to stretch and test how realistic our suggestions. Someone wants to say something? Is that you, Andy?
Yeah. Just to add on.
Yeah, before I go to Nunu, yeah, you can now in about 30 seconds.
Just to add on what I was saying, you see, okay, yes, the way the gentleman is saying that we should be creative. Already, some of us, we've revolved. People revolve every time, because as creative, you're always researching, you're looking at new things, you're finding new ways. But you find that still, what she said earlier, you have to invest in everything. And also, here we are looking at the bigger picture. Like, we need to talk about, okay, even if we are creating and revolving in what we are selling to which industry, will the system support our creativity? Because you're going to invest, you put in everything, you become innovative, creative, but then again in the wrong system. Then you suffer the same problems, the same difficulties. You can't be heard when you want to. You can't get some privileges, or like you're always fighting to prove or to speak for yourself, So still going back to the same thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted Nunu to, building on what you've had. You see, we are trying to bring together several ideas here that artists and policymakers can take into consideration. But one of the things that have emerged of recent, people have come up with websites, with portals, trying to centralize music. Say maybe if you want to sell your music, you bring it to us. I've seen the people in the movie industry, there are websites like Chibanda Express. If you have it in Uganda, you put it there and people pay to watch. Have you come across some of these interventions, and do you see them working? Because we also see artists or creatives who are saying they're actually exploitative. What they offer is not worth it. So earlier on, we were calling people to come together and unite, and I think that's one of the avenues. What do you speak to it?
Well, I personally haven't come up or been approached by anything like that. Maybe because I'm a middle person as well. Kwiluga is a middle ground, brings artists together. So maybe I should be the one starting it, but I haven't been approached by anyone. But on that part of being exploitative, I know that there are many people out there who are seeing the frustration of artists and are going to use it to their advantage, right? And going to exploit them, which is really sad. So I just back to, I think, Ande or Baba, who said something about lack of information. People don't know their rights. People don't know what they need to do. So it could start from us again, once we are united, putting this information out, sensitizing the artists, right? I like the idea of what you just asked me about earlier on, the websites and stuff, because I was going to come up with the idea of collaborations. So if we do not have money, for example, yeah, and I can come to Peter, and I know he has within his sphere something which he can help me, yeah, I know that I can speak to Peter and Peter can help me, and then at some point B, also Peter will come to me. I know, for example, if I need anything to do maybe with production, I can come talk to Andy, you know, and we find a way of how we can help each other without discussing the whole money situation. Yeah, and then once we build, like, once Andy help build their brand, then, you know, now we're out there, we're exposed, so we can get these sponsors, we can get all this funding. So again, if we come together, work on collaborations as artists helping fellow artists, yeah, we kill that whole money situation, yeah, because there's something I can offer, there's something Andy can offer, something Peter can offer, something Baba can offer. So we can sit together as artists and say, okay, so what is your situation? What is your brand? What are you trying to achieve? How can I help you? This is social capital. So if we work on our social capital as creatives, and listen, we are the most gifted human beings out there, yeah? If we come together, we are forced to reckon with. Because now there we kill the money situation, help each other, and then sit back and watch them come to us, because they're like, yo, you guys are on fire. So collaborations, I think, is something very important. But again, like Baba said, the information needs to be out there. People need to be sensitized about their rights. Because if I once went for a meeting with some production something, and my ideas were great, but you could see this person was ready to manipulate me, like use me, you know? And it was so heartbreaking, because I was like, I have so much I'm offering you. I know you're offering me something, but I have more that I'm offering you. But because you see that I'm desperate, and this was in COVID, in lockdown, yeah? Because I was trying to come up with this online situation. Like, oh, I'll cover the production costs, I'll do everything, but you have to do A, B, C, D, basically sell my soul, yeah? So if I didn't have the information that I have, knowing that I have my rights and this person is manipulating me, yeah, I would have signed that deal. I'd have signed that deal. But because I was aware, I was cautious, I survived that. But so many artists, so many creative people out there don't know that, and they're being manipulated and used. So one, we need to sensitize them. Two, we need to work on being united, because through unity, we can have these amazing collaborations. And like I said, with the collaborations, we eliminate the money factor and build on our brands. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. You seem, in all your conversations, you seem to point us towards solutions, and I like that. But I want to shake this conversation a bit with you, Andy. You see, when we talk about artists, and for you, good enough, you're a producer, we also know that there are so many people behind artists that we never see. You know, because for us, when I'm looking at an artist, say who, when I see Kenzo, it is Kenzo, but behind the Kenzo, there are so many people who feed off, yes, the palms of their producers, their dancers, you know them better. So should we assume that in this conversation we are having, all those people, the graphics designers and others, I've seen, like for the case of bars, we keep hearing about the bouncers and others. So should we say that when we have this conversation, all those people are captured? Or are you people forgetting the people in the support systems around you? Or is it that when we cater for creatives, we have catered for that support system? Let's speak to that.
We are not, I think we are speaking in general, because the way you see, lack of information has brought a problem like in the whole sector, because it's a big problem in the whole sector because artists are not informed. There is that mentality and the perspective of how they look at a producer, how they look at the whole situation. Like many producers have ever been in that situation whereby I feel like I'm disrespected or the artist doesn't value my content. And also the other way, you find that sometimes the whole thing was started by a producer. You know, like I came up with a beat, I called this guy, I spotted the talent, then tried to encourage him, wrote for him the song. And you find that producers, we shall end at maybe the studio time they'll give you, or it will end at maybe talking or maybe saying your name or selling your brand, just hoping to get. But you find that there's a hole there because there's no system that can protect me as a producer. I'm the author of the sound. Then we came up with the melodies. That is all work, but artists are not even informed about that. For them, they know it's easy to make a beat. It's just, they feel like they can give you any amount, and they don't see it like this is an engineer, like the way you'd see any, let me say, civil engineers, or the way you'd see these guys who construct roads, like the perspective they look at them and the respect they give them, like it goes back to people are not informed about this whole thing. So I think right now is, since we've suffered the consequences, it's high time we united and preached. Like we need to know a lot of things. We need to know that it's not about singing. You need to organize yourself. You need to have a team. Artists, we need to work with everyone. We need lawyers. We need strategists. We need directors, writers, and everything. And you find that all those things, if they're working together, you talk big sums, the respect is mutual, and those are things that are not there. So you find like everything is handled like it's like a black market kind of. There's nothing, like no proper auditing, nothing, So when we say the system has to be fixed, or we have to preach this, it's like we are speaking for everyone, because an artist will be informed. They will know, if I'm going to studio, this is how it is. If I'm going here, this is how it is. If any company wants this is how it goes. So everyone will be active. You'll find the management, the managers, what distributors, all those apps and whatever will make sense. Because right now, honestly, even if I'm on YouTube, how much does YouTube pay? And for how long will I wait? I have bills, I have what, there's a lot. But if everything, there's the copyright and things are protected, there are many avenues. You find that an artist is going to benefit, and these things won't happen. These problems we are facing and saying we are stuck won't, because you'll be feeding from everywhere, from every corner, and also you'll be able to express yourself better. You help, you inspire, many things can happen. So it goes back to lack of information, and we are speaking for everyone. Thank you.
Wow. Interesting. Someone recently told me people who say that they are voices for the voiceless actually abuse the voiceless, because there is no voiceless person. Some voices are just not heard. So, Barbara, I want now to engage another gear of politics, and we are moving this conversation towards the end. But before we do, and Kagayi hinted on this, there was an upsurge even before COVID of many creatives joining politics, and many of them, you can say, maybe becoming very critical of the regime in power. And there are people who argue that this shapes the kind of attitude that Kagayi hinted on from the state, because creatives seems you have decided to appoint yourselves as rebels And some circles claim that you know, you don't market the positives in our society. You are not good ambassadors of your countries. You only look at the bad things. We now have a couple of MPs who are artists. I mean, who are members of parliament, who are councillors. Could we say this is what brought this problem? Are we in trouble because of some people who decided to mix politics with creativity?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. That is a very interesting topic we have gone to. And just before I go there, let me just go back a bit to where Andy was on the question you gave Andy. The law itself, the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act of 2006, actually caters for these other people, those other, the songwriters, the dancers, the performers, because in Uganda, most of these hits you see on TV, the artist has actually, the person performing the song on stage, the hit maker, you call the hit maker, has actually put in almost 2 or 3%. The producer has written, has structured the whole beat, has guided them. Most of them don't know what they are singing. They are directing them, everything. So there's a lot to do. But yes, on that question, yes, we are representing all these people within the sector. So back to the point. Me, what I usually tell the people that I talk to about this topic is what happened to the industry. Salt got mixed into the sugar. So the sugar is the music, politics is the salt, and that's what happened to our industry. However, it being the
We ended
motherpiece.
up with orals. You're reminding me of some primary science there.
Yes, that is what is happening. Yes, so it is really tricky and it is heartbreaking, but on the other side, it is also good. It is good for the government to wake up and know that we are not just wayaye, or there are no artists didn't study, artists cannot do anything. I think those ones who were there before, like Muyanga Senyonga from Mukono, he was an artist before Parliament, but he has done good things. That's why he's still there, even now for over 20 years. So I think artists actually have the voice and can speak out there. Now, the Bobby Wine, let us be clear, let us be straightforward. Bobby Wine actually just held a stick. It was like a rally race. But this thing was started by comedians, and I think Mendos, it's comedians who started imitating the president, hitting politicians, and this and this. So Bobby Wine found that mood already into the public. The public was used to seeing Amoti Mwaranguzi coming to diss some member of parliament somewhat. And when Bobby Wine came in, yet artists actually have a wider voice, a bigger effect. They are listened to more. They have real followers, people who die for, for chameleon or who. That's where the problem came. When Bobby Wine started to use that same aspect of hitting on these guys, because it started as a joke. I remember Tugambire ku Jennifer, what of Yonjo, as a joke, I even had a rumor I hear when information got to the big people that Bobby Wine was contesting. Some of them said, you're just comedian, he's just doing his comedy. But recently, the last meeting we had at Operation Wealth Creation, it was made clear to us that music became a national security threat. So this is how they are handling the industry. And as I speak now, you've been hearing of the meetings going on, all this guru thing, General Salim Saleh, all these people. Right now, the government has taken over the industry. It is sad to tell, it is sad to know, but we have very limited options, and we have to fight so hard to be awake. This is why I actually founded Creative Arts Cast, because I wanted to sensitize some of these things. I saw the industry was going so bad, and we also applaud Council Silva Chagulanyi. He has done a very good job with the Copyright Institute. We want to do this. We have to first make sure that this information sinks deep in the artists before we are taken over. Otherwise, the industry is at a verge of failure because of the aspect of politics. These guys in parliament are there. I don't want to sound negative or something that they may not do or what, but at least we have known them. We have grown with most of these artists. We know what they have been doing in their private lives. Like Geoffrey Rutaya is a very successful businessman. We expect things to come out of there. Dr. Hildeman is a very passionate guy about the industry. We expect legislation. We want these laws to be passed and real serious things to be implemented, and they work. But because of our corruption and the nature of our people, we can only hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. However, this aspect of politics into music, or music and politics, is salt and sugar, and we really have to be careful. Thank you. Maybe just to add on a small submission, I think also where the other problem is, the government underestimated artists from the beginning, and this brought up a challenge. Even us who are younger ended up, saying, Rachi, why can't I really come out and do this? And so there is kind of a dare. They kind of dared, and they dared, and and this is what has, the public is so frustrated with other reasons. People are, that's why they were just voting these people to go and enter. Which is a very risky thing. So right now that the government is interested, we hope such platforms can be followed and they can engage us, be open with us, but also, as Andy was saying, Nunu was saying, we need to empower ourselves. Let us first unite as artists. Let us do the work here ourselves, so that they come when we are very prepared and there is no excuse. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Matanda, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I had a network issue, but I'm back. Thank you very much. And I captured some of what you shared. You took us to Parliament, took us to, when you mentioned the comedians who started this, I was expecting to hear about Katoru Wama, because he actually got into the house earlier than the wave. So Kagayi, if you can maybe also speak to this, how do we, toe the line between art, creativity, and politics? Because if even when you go back into history, starting right from the French Revolution, you know that you artists have always been a problem to the powers that be. You claim to mirror society, and society maybe does not look very well, and we don't love seeing our images. So how can artists deal with this? Do the mirroring job, but also ensure they are safe?
For me, I personally, I have no problem with anyone, as long as they are above 18 years old and they are Ugandan and they have the academic qualifications. I think anyone, for me, has the right to want to participate actively in politics. I don't know why it should be okay for lawyers and engineers and it is not okay for an artist, for example. I don't know why we should judge, artists as not being worthy of of contributing to the political process, yet other members of society are. So for me, in that regard, I think to each their own, really. Now, as to the state looking at the state perceiving art as a threat, that is also a constant. As indeed as you have said it has always been like that.
Kagayi, but maybe before we even go there, if I can share with you one of the arguments I've had from those who think that artists, creatives using their influence to get into politics is wrong. They look at it as some sort of abuse of power. I've actually, I think, had General Kahindo Tafide saying this. You abuse, actually, they say, your influence to get into governance systems that you do not understand. Yeah, so you ride. I think you've heard about the word populism. Populism is a word that politicians use, but abuse and insult. So you ride on the populist. feelings of the people, and yet you are not qualified to offer leadership. Yes.
No, then who is qualified to offer leadership? Someone who picks up a gun to kill others? I don't know. For me, the law is very clear. If we are a society that follows laws, it says if you are above 18 years old, if you have qualifications of a certain, of a certain academic background, and that you are a citizen of this country, and that you offer yourself for service if you want, and if people elect you, it does not say if you're an artist with 10K followers, don't stand. It does not say that if you're a lawyer who is this popular, don't stand. No. And for me, the self-entitlement that I hear, that some of the people who have overstayed in power, to believe that some people should do it and some people should not. For me, it is wrong, and it is wrong by law. For me, it is bad reasoning, because the law is very clear. Any Ugandan who is of sound mind and qualifies can offer themselves to leadership. So for me, the same thing that they argue against priests, people who are popular, and they say you're going to use your influence. No, for me it is not exactly that. It is that each and every one of us has a right to express their political opinion, their political will. And in a society that is democratic, such aspirations are respected. You see, it does not matter whether it does not, you don't have to, I don't know, you don't have to go to, imagine if we say that politics is only for people who study political science. I think that would be terrible. By virtue of the fact that I'm an artist, I'm a musician, it means that, I reflect the soul of the people. So what better person to think of representing the vox populi, as the word is, vox populi, voice of the people, than the artist. So for me, I see that as whoever says the artist or the religious person or so and so does not have a right to stand because they don't understand politics. There is no institution that teaches that. Politics is basically about representing people's interests and placing them there for national discussion, and that is it. And our laws are very clear on that. But for me, even moving beyond that, to talk about art and politics, I think it is important that artists know how to play politics, because politics is about sharing national resources. You see, it is about tabling policies. Coming up with suggestions and research that is going to help raise the esteem. Let me give you an example. For example, us in our poetry things, as we call them. Now, poetry has always been a classroom activity. For those who went to school, you've known poetry is for literature. Nobody can ever think of it as a career. But now, when we start to participate in shaping of policy, we can say that performance poetry is part of our national culture. And so when they are thinking of what artists they should budget for, they should also think for those who express themselves in this way. And then we can also go and do research about other traditional forms of poetry. I believe that, for example, Lugaflo is a form of poetry, and it is a new form of previously they used to call it okutontoma. For me, that Lugaflo. So all those forms of expression. So that is why it is important that when we get artists who have expressed interest in politics, we should actually unapologetically support them. We should tell them these are our agendas. These are, we need to create institutions of learning. As one of the ways of professionalizing is we have to create, people have to study these things, You can't just wake up one day and you think you're going to just start by being an artist. So for us to be able to create these systems that are going to help us, create institutions that are going to support our arts and culture and actually make it a heritage. You know, it is very important that we know how to play the politics of the day. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. I like that you defended the right, but in the end, it's like you're saying, with caution, friends. So, friends, it has been a very lively and incisive discussion we've had, and now we are moving towards the end. But as we do, I know that as we were discussing, we were also sharing recommendations and what we think can be done, and amplifying voices for what is already being done. So, as we move towards the end, I need us to speak to that more outrightly and say, now, which way? What's the way forward now? So, in this segment, you're free. If there's something you think we have not brought out, this is the part when you bring it out. But also, let's speak to, if there is a creative out there who is watching this show, what can they do? Where can they start? If there are people who feel for the industry, how can they reach out? How can they help? Yeah. So we usually like this show speaking solutions rather than just maybe lamenting or exposing what is already known. And I will start with you, Nunu.
Okay. First of all, I've had such a blast being here. Thank you so much for the invite. And I hope this is not the last time we're doing this. And I hope after all this lockdown and stuff, we now can physically meet and do something. Yeah. For the creative out there, yeah, I'll speak for myself. Growing up as a creative in a world where I was put down, I had to be a lawyer, accountant, whatever. What I did for myself was stick, like I don't know, either it was cautiously or subconsciously, but I know I was like, I am not, in my head, I was like, I'm not mad. Because, creative people are mad. This child, she's mad, always having bitambaro on her head, wearing I don't know what. But I knew in my soul, I knew I was like, there's some people like me out there, So I was very intentional on finding these people. Yeah. So I'd either go to the National Theatre or I was so intentional. But now this creative, this era now, or creatives now, you guys have the internet. Yeah. Go Google, find out, let's say, poetry events in Kampala, producers in Kampala, galleries, yeah, music shows or whatever. Okay, now that COVID is there. But my point is this information is out there on the internet. Yeah. Just even type out how to, I don't know, whatever it is. Point is you can get this information on the internet, right? So you will find us on the internet. Yeah. And then again, you can teach yourself some of these things. I know so many friends of mine who are doing really well, like makeup artists, who just went to YouTube and taught themselves how to do makeup. Yeah. Her next thing, she has a studio. She has, 20,000 followers. She's making lots of money. She built her mama house, but she went and taught herself how to do makeup on the internet. So you guys are at an advantage. Our time, we didn't have internet. We didn't even have mobile phones. I speak for myself. So you guys have all this in your face. You literally just tap and you get it. If you're determined, if you're passionate, if you want something, go get it. Stop waiting for people to spoon feed you, and stop blaming. We're done, guys. We're done. Yeah, some of us have survived by just daring, just daring to go out there and do something. So my dear creative out there, yeah, some of us have helped like a stepping gundi to show you what's up. But now you have the internet. You can do this. Whatever you want, you can achieve it. Put your mind to it. Yeah. And we are here. I know there's people like us who are willing to help. Reach out to us as well. But again, go and do that research. If you want something so bad, go get it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Andy?
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, really. And I wish we could do this all the time and probably meet. And I love the vibe, I love the connect, and looking forward to work with most of you. So to me, a creative is that person with the biggest heart. I don't know, maybe that's how I see it. Like we are so passionate that yes, we made it a profession. We want money and what, but most of the time it comes from a pure side. Like it's not even about money. It's about the beauty. Like now, with this gift of creating, and we identify problems. We see things that people need. Like we care about our country. We love everything. I don't know if you guys also feel that way. But maybe that's how I see it. Like everything we do for the love. Though the money bit comes in, but it's for the love. So to our leaders out there, I think change the perspective of how you look at we creatives. Try to give us an ear. You know, there is a lot like we, you know, these things we do like connect us so much to the people. Like it's like you're always researching about people, figuring out problems, trying to excite people in all ways. So I think it's something very big. It's like a drug, like and it's something that they should not look at as something small, because it can bring in a lot for the country. It can introduce big opportunities for the country, and our citizens can learn. Actually, education, music is like the new education. Like people learn through. Okay, let me say art in general. Like it shapes people. It, you know, we learn from each other, and this is like the opportunity of people getting information easily. And I think, okay, what I'm asking for here is give us an ear, and to fellow creatives and artists, please, this is not competition. This is this is we are building our country, we are building our industry. So let's look at bigger pictures. Let's be inspired by others. Let's you see the problem we've had. Like we look at those people, and for us we look at the final product, and we want to reproduce the final product, but we don't know that there are steps. Like you need to understand some things so that you can deliver what you're delivering, but organized and you can sustain. And that's the problem. Like many creatives have had. Like when they when they reach the limelight, they grow wings and they feel like they don't need anyone. But at the end of the day, they are crumbling there. They still come back, and then the relationship has been tempered. So I think uh, back to the other message, let's get united. Let's look deeper so that we can be proud of our decisions, you know, and also inspire the country at large. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you very much, Andy. I like that you have emphasized the process. Someone told me when you say man with a big tummy, don't assume that he had a heavy dinner the previous night. There's a process to it.
Yeah,
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 so
yeah.
thank you very much for that piece of advice. Babara, what can we do now? We have seen the challenges, we have seen the prospects, you have told us, you almost said, you know, art is everything. So since it is everything, what can we do to, you know, deal with these challenges that we've highlighted?
Yes, I will also begin by appreciating, thank you for the initiative and the opportunity to share some of our views and the little information we have about the creative sector. In my 12 years experience in this industry, I so well know that there are both advantages and disadvantages. Now, let me speak for the entire industry. You can either raise from nothing to something like Kenzo, or end up frustrated and maybe lose your life, like rest in peace radio, rest in peace Sloban, you know. So this industry is a very, very, very fragile. It's a very fragile. As an artist, you actually very at the highest risk. That's why actually parents prefer telling their daughters, "Oh, you want to sing? I rather take you to the States. I rather do this." They put curfew on them because the industry is really not a simple sector to just deal with. However, with all these challenges, people have managed to survive. We have managed to live with it, and we have endured. Like Nunu said, it's all about daring. You have to take that chance. You have to take the risk. It's the only thing you can do actually with life. You just have to live it. You either live it or you lose it. Face everything and rise, or run away and end up losing everything. So some of these challenges are new, like COVID, copyright, those others. These are some of these challenges are new. However, most of the challenges are inherited. We have come doing the same thing like our predecessors. I think the Afrigo bands were lucky enough. They had laid some structure, but when this new wave came in, these urban dancehall and ragamuffins came in, the industry changed its way of viewing things. And the fans just have to follow what the artists are giving them. So these challenges that we have inherited, as I said earlier, if it means coming back to zero, at least COVID actually, COVID was a blessing in disguise because it kind of leveled all of us down. It brought us back. No one is performing, no one is doing what, whether you're who, whether you're how big, whether you have a concert, whether you travel out, we all came back and said, okay, we are now artists. What next? So, what next? First, I would like to encourage us, at least for us who are here, we have the Writers, the Poetry Association, the Producers Association, and maybe I didn't mention this, but I'm in the Uganda Musicians Association. I'm an assistant legal advisor there. So we have been doing a lot of things. The industry, we have been fighting that we don't reopen, doing the same things as it was in the past. I would like to applaud the Copyright Institute. It took an initiative last year and called the first training conference for stakeholders who could help switch up the industry or find resolutions for these long-term challenges. It was held at Colin Hotel in Mukono. And since then, we have had respective meetings, National Culture Forum with UNCC, with the teams going to Guru, those who have been hearing Guru, Wuma, and this. There are so many. We have over 61 associations, I believe, under National Culture Forum. And we had over 8 associations that are musicians associations. This was Kamuta, Kadongo Kamu, there is a solution, there is who others? This grill band. There are people who play just bands. You know, these people who play the bands in hotels and what. They also have an association because these are the people we don't even think about, but they are in the industry, the same industry. They're instrumentalists. So all these associations came all together, and we had to have dialogue. I will upload myself for starting actually the process of dialogue to bring the industry to breathe together, because we noticed everyone was fighting for nothing, because it's the same issue. You're all musicians, you all want the same thing, you all want copyright and this, but you're fighting from different battlefields. We weren't organized to the same mission. So we have been working so hard to have a one voice. And I don't have this document scanned, but just to read for you a bit, it says Office of the President, Operation Wealth Creation, the Chief Coordinator, Operation Wealth Creation meeting with the Ugandan National Culture Center, First Deputy Prime Minister, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social, NPA, UPRS, Uganda Performing Rights Society, OWC High Command, and OWC Task Force, held on 27th January 2021. This was a document that was developed by General Salim Saleh, of course, with his team, and it is entirely about the music industry and what the government is doing for the industry. So I don't have a scanned copy of this, but I will be sending it to Masesa. Probably he will share it with you people. And then just last weekend, on 17th and 18th, July, just last weekend, there was a concern because with all these meetings that have been going on.
Barbara, we seem to have lost you. Can you hear me? Yeah, I suspect he has got a local call. So, Kagayi, yeah, I think Barbara, I don't know if he'll get back. Maybe if he does, he can be able to conclude his submission as giving us interesting updates, some of which maybe Kagayi you may want to speak to. So, Kagayi, you have the honor to sort of crown this conversation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Matanda. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you, the organizers, for putting this together. I want to thank my co-panelists for making time. This is the new normal. Here we are. It's called
Yes.
us. This is the new normal, and here we are. Life demands to be lived, regardless of the circumstances we are in. I also want to, console with my colleagues as artists. This is not this is it's a tough world. It's a tough time for all of us, but let us hang in there. For the parting shot to anyone who is watching, for me, this is what I would say. This is an exciting time to be an artist. I know there is definitely a lot of chaos going on. There is a lot of figuring out of things and whatnot. But for me, this is an exciting time to be an artist living today. Because first and foremost, the internet is now here to stay. That we cannot even emphasize anymore. So we have to invest in our digital profiles, in our digital businesses. I believe that it is one of the ways that this industry is going to have to survive, all the chaos that is in Uganda, and the internet is a very good access, to the rest of the world. That is for me that I see. Secondly, it is exciting time because now more than ever, I see art being talked about as a business. We have moved the conversation away from art being a passion, things we're just doing for passion. So my advice to the artist out there is, one, acquaint yourself with knowledge of the business. If you're into the poetry business, know your poetry business. If you're into the music business, if you're into the visual arts business, know your business. Secondly, know the law. Know your copyright, man. Know your copyright, because now, for example, in this social media era, what is the copyright of a poem that I shared on my Facebook? Have you thought about those instances? Thirdly, I'm just emphasizing, this has been said again, collaborations. I think this is the time for us to collaborate, to create new hybrids of work, new expressions, concocting new things and that we can put out there for the world to consume. And with that, I wish everyone the best of luck. And to the organizers, once again, I also want to say that I hope that this is not the last of these sessions that you're having. And yeah, thank you for having us.
Wow. Thank you very much. You used a very curious word, concocting. People are surviving on concoctions against COVID. And so, so it looks like you also have to employ some other forms of concoctions. I want to assure you this has been an exciting conversation. I've loved the vibe. I've loved, the diversity of ideas that we have shared. We are very much honored. This is a new space. It's a growing space, but that you accepted to give us 2 hours of your time, and and stay throughout, sharing your experiences. We are very much humbled, and I can assure you it's not the last time. Actually, we're online, but we are hoping very soon, when space is opened up, this will even get physical. You know, the physical touch comes with some magic that sometimes is harder to get here, much as this is the way to go. So I want to thank you and the music for your time. I want to thank you, Nunu, for your time. Babara, sorry you went off unceremoniously, but I see that you're back. Welcome back.
1 minute.
Yes. You are actually concluding on
Yeah.
a 17th event. Yes.
Yes, I was concluding about the meeting that was held last weekend. It was in Gulu still, but this was specifically because after all the meetings that had happened before, Jose Chameleon came out with a new association known as Uganda Music Superstars Association. And these are the same issues government has been complaining about. When we come to a resolution, you come back again. When we come, so they called them for a final meeting, and I've shared a document with Masesa. He will be sharing with all of you the resolutions and what is going to happen next, because they were given a task. They were sent back. General told Chameleon, I cannot meet you without Wuma. Go back and call Wuma. So the Wuma people were contacted. They went and met General Saleh on Sunday, and he gave them resolutions for the industry. There is a lot of money that has already been released towards these different bodies, UNCC, NCF, WUMA, and people don't know about these things. Like we said, information is covered away from the creatives. So please look through the documents. Let us see how far we have reached and where the industry is headed to. However, I emphasize, let us stay united. And for us who can sacrifice ourselves, like Andy said, is no longer into this. We all entered music for different reasons. We wanted popularity and this, but we reached a level and it became a national concern for our generations that are coming. We want them to come into one industry that is well streamlined. To the artists, all creatives out there, the new ones, please don't rush for anything. If you have an opportunity to study, that will help you. It will help you at least have an option elsewhere. Enter into the music for love, not for money. Come and sing your heart out. Come and create. Be creative. Do all the crazy things. You're the generation we are looking at. To make us new smartphones, to make us new production houses, and these. For us, we are doing our parts as we can. If you're an artist, join WUMA. If you're a poet, join the Poetry Association. If you're a producer, join the Production Association. If you're a DJ, if you're what. But the industry isn't bad. It isn't evil. If you come in for professionalism, you will use it as a career. You should look at music or art as a career and not just entertainment. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless.
Babara, wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much. I like that Kaga is calling us to the money and you're calling us to the passion. Yeah, that's the youth roundtable. So I want to thank you, Babara, for your time, and thank you, Kagai, for adding the poetry mix to this conversation. We had hoped to have the president of the Basketballers Association to bring in the sports aspect, but maybe that was a signal from Providence that that discussion needed to happen in another context, the sports discussion. So I think we shall have another discussion that also brings on board those enriching discussion around the creative. Say thank you enough, and we ask you to share this conversation on your spaces, such that people can follow in. If you have a question, you have a comment, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook as Civic Space TV. Yeah, so just follow, make your comments, ask your follow-up questions. Yeah, that's Civic Space TV works on the philosophy of freedom always. We think that it's through freedom that we are able to find our voices, to express ourselves, and then things get better. It's a goodbye from me. God bless you.